are back. Welcome back to the No Morning Show, Trinidad and Tobago. I am Natalie Legore, and in today's Spotlight, Professor Ramesh Deosaran, who is former chairman of the Police Service Commission, and we're just here to talk about, with the new people, the new commission formed, what's going to happen with that merit list? I think everybody is curious, and so am I. Good morning to you, Professor Deosaran.
Good morning, Ms. Natalie Legore, to you and your viewers.
Thank you so much for joining us. So talk to us, Professor. You are part of the Service Commission, so obviously you have some experience, but I'm seeing that your experience, or your background as a criminologist is being questioned.
Well, in terms of what we're going to discuss this morning, remember I was in Parliament as an independent senator for about 13 years, so I had an insight into how public policy is made, the debates on either side to come to a conclusion, such as this one that we are dealing with. I also trained police officers in Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Grenada, and so on. I also wrote a book on community policing. Apart from chairman of the Police Service Commission, I was chairman of a cabinet committee to inquire into the prisons. I was also chairman of the Sentencing Commission, member of the Teaching Service Commission. So inside and out of the university, my view of criminology is a part of social activism. It had to be involved in looking at social justice. So my career, briefly, of course, I wrote over 15 books on the issues of policing, criminal justice, and so on. So my view on these matters is quite broader than just being an academic. I have been in applied criminology and criminal justice for many, many years. So it's my professional duty to be here to see whatever help I can bring to show some light rather than heat on what has become, unfortunately, a very controversial issue to the population, and the population remains a bit confused. So if we can help this morning in clarifying, as I'm sure you would and I would try to do, some of the issues, it will be a welcome contribution in a properly civic manner.
Yes, and I definitely think that the population still has some questions, as do I, because I think the biggest question at this point, we know what transpired before, some of it we still don't know and are still curious about. But let us start with where we are now. We have a new Police Service Commission, but somewhere out there, there's an old merit list. And I think the question becomes, if constitutionally the new Police Service Commission can go ahead with the old merit list, or if it even makes a sense to do so given what transpired before.
Well, recently, I gave the new Police Service Commission two options. And I gave them not that they must do it, but as a member of the public, and reading and hearing what we have all witnessed, the question of what you call the first list, I think we'll start with what the president herself has declared. In the first place, she did admit in a press release that the list was brought to her by the chairman of the Police Service Commission, Ms. Bliss Prasad, on August the 11th. And her words were, this list was delivered to the office of the president. Then President Weeks added, the list was almost immediately withdrawn, I suppose by Ms. Prasad herself. She then declared, that is the president, to the national community. She therefore had no list to submit any nominations to Parliament. And final comment she made, which to me was a very critical comment. She said she inquired thereafter of the Police Service Commission, you have a list available? And the commission said no, the recruitment and selection process is not yet completed. So coming from the president, as these words provide some direction as to what the new Police Service Commission should and could do. That is, overall, they have to review the substance and the circumstances of this first list. And that is what I tried to explain in an article last Sunday, I think, in your Trinidad Express. I also gave proposed another option, which is, of course, they can go ahead and do a new recruitment and appointment process. But if they do so, they will have to be aware it will take some time, even though they would have appointed an acting police commissioner. So the first challenge facing the new police service commissioners, and I wish them well, they are quite qualified. As we all know, their task is very challenging. I commend them very sincerely for taking up this offer in the prevailing circumstances, as we all know. They will sit down and deliberate in reflection of the whole list and how to move forward in view of all the confusing circumstances, how they can clear up the situation as quickly as possible and get a substantive police commissioner appointed.
But Professor, if the former Police Service Commission's chairman said that, no, there's no list, that the recruitment and selection process is not completed, should they go back now to what was already scrapped by the former Police Service Commission?
Immediately should go back?
Yeah. As in to accept that there is a list.
The question is this: is this first list legally valid? Or is the list still within the jurisdiction and the discretion of the Police Service Commission, this Police Service Commission? So I would further suggest that the commission, from expert advice inside or outside the commission, because there might be some fine print in the way of procedures or precedent, some case judgment that could enlighten the present situation. So is the list legally valid? Is it still alive? Or is the list still within, according to what the president said, the jurisdiction and the discretion of the Police Service Commission? And that question the Police Service Commission would have to answer carefully before moving either way. So it's not a clear terrain because of what has been said. This is the first time something like this has happened to the Police Service Commission. I was chairman. I can tell you we had challenges, but we overcame them one way or the other. But this, what is happening today, this confusing situation, everybody has a view, an opposing view, some bringing light, some bringing more heat than light. And I do sympathize with the new commissioners. I wish them well, but I think they will have an idea what to do. They are very qualified in moving forward.
Right. If the new Police Service Commission is to scrap that old list and start afresh, are there any legal ramifications for that? Especially for the people who would have, possibly been a part of that merit list, to say challenge the process.
That's what I'm implying. They have to be careful in guarding themselves as a new commission against legal challenges. But as you know, legal challenges sometimes are quite easy to bring forward in court. The issue doesn't have to be very, very clear one way or the other to bring litigation. So I am suggesting they get expert advice, properly documented, so they can stand upon and move forward, especially with the first list, because you don't want to be unfair to people who are on the first list, whoever they may be. You don't want to be unfair to them, but you want to make sure that the procedures and the constitutional provisions in that first list case are all properly followed too, because some aspects of it are not very clear. So that's what I'm advising. I mean, I've been there in the belly of the Police Service Commission. We had challenges. We were taken to court
All right.
once.
Well, Prof,
Really,
let me play devil's advocate. You were chairman of the Police Service Commission at some point. If you were in this position and you were new to the Service Commission after all that would have transpired before, having the information, knowing how the Service Commission works, would you go back to the old merit list or start afresh?
I can't give a definite answer now until we clear up what I just asked. Is the list legally active, or is it still within the jurisdiction and discretion of the Police Service Commission? That is what I would inquire into. I would not like myself to come arbitrarily into the situation and make a judgment without having the circumstances and the parameters quite clear in my mind, meaning a legal interpretation of the first list, given in context to, careful context, what the president has said. Two things I might recall. She doesn't have a list. The list was handed to the office of the president and almost immediately withdrawn. And when she inquired, in my view, this is a very important statement. Some people may want to challenge it, of course, but she also said when she inquired of the Police Service Commission then, the commission replied, they have no list available now. They are still in the exercise of recruiting and appointing. So to me, the situation was still floating. And in that circumstance, if I were chairman, or if I had to make a decision, I would move very carefully on both sides. I would make sure there is fairness, but there's also justice to the cause and obedience to the Constitution. That is what I would do, step at a time.
You know, Professor, you keep saying if the list is legally active. Are there circumstances under which this list could be inactive? Because I'm trying to figure out, if a list was presented to President's House and withdrawn, then obviously there's a list. For the president to be told after that, you know, they're still into the recruitment process. What are the circumstances under which a Police Service Commission can say a list no longer exists? Do those remits really exist?
I think Ms. Shipasad or somebody, the Director of Public Administration, who serves as the Secretariat to the Commission, should make a declaration. Where is the list? Where is the list now? The President doesn't have it. The Police Service Commission will soon have, after today's meeting, maybe, tell themselves and the national community, well, here is the list. Or they might say, well, we are still to get the list. And then from there now, we will see what the list says and what it doesn't say.
Can a Police Service Commission scrap a list, Professor?
From the President's remark, and coming from the Police Service Commission then, that they are still conducting, or the exercise is not yet complete. The exercise is not yet complete. That is what the President said. So is there really a complete list or not?
But there must have been for whatever was presented to President's House. But can the Police Service Commission, constitutionally or legally, scrap a merit list? Are there any circumstances under which it can say, you know what, we can do away with this?
I really can't answer that question. If there is a list legally configured, I doubt whether a commission could properly get rid of it, unless there are pressing circumstances, information that come from some reliable source about bribery, for example. As our commissioners bribed to make this election under such severe circumstances, well then, possibly. But given the normal terrain that we are on now, and the matter proceeding as it is, I doubt a commission could arbitrarily dispense with a well, properly configured list.
But it seems as if that is what happened, though. To the best of our judgment, just based on the information that we had, it seems as if that's what happened, because I don't know that something could have been presented to President's House that was incomplete. If the Police Service Commission took the decision to take it to President's House, it must have been because at some point there was a list. That it was withdrawn is another matter.
Well, there seemed to be a list that was taken to the office of the president by Mr. Prasad, but the list was withdrawn by Mr. Prasad, from what I understand. And as of now, the president has no list, as she herself has remarked. So the question, to come back to what I'm saying just now, where is the list?
Yeah.
And if the commission itself is saying, according to the president's words, the list is still not completed. So it looks like a sort of Houdini situation where on the left hand it's there, on the right hand it's not there. So that is what I'm saying. The new commission has to move into these areas and find out properly, carefully, and legally what is the situation with the list. Is it still active?
Yeah.
Or is there a list at all? In view of the Police Service Commission remarks that the list is still not yet complete.
Yeah. Professor, what do you think are some of the things that we can do to ensure that something like this doesn't happen again? Because I think what has happened is that it has brought to bear the fact that we don't know how much the Police Service Commission can do or cannot do, and under what circumstances it can do them.
The Commission has enormous powers. They are responsible for designing the assessment framework, the measures. They have a lot of discretion according to the Constitution. And this particular case is very unusual, very, very unusual, because if you have to give something to the president and you go into the office, you should deliver what you have to deliver. I find it strange. You see, that is where the whole situation began lastly, by withdrawal of the list. And somebody has to bear responsibility. I am not going to speculate about who interfered with the list. That's another issue that has to be dealt with, if at all it was interfered. But the question, why was it withdrawn?
Yeah.
That has to be made clear by the public, and the person who walked and withdrew the list should explain. There might be very good reasons, but we await their reasons in order to understand why was the list withdrawn. And if that area remains gray as it is, I think it's the obligation of the new commission to find out why was that list withdrawn. Because as you implied, there was a list. So why was it withdrawn? That's a very fundamental issue that the new commission will have to get into. And maybe with respect, they can call Mr. Prasad for a private interview and start from there and make the announcement properly, dignified, without being unfair to any person. But that issue has to be clarified because it has put the president, the prime minister, the opposition, the previous commission, and even now facing the new commission into some awkward embarrassment.
Well, I was just about to ask you if you believe that the work of the former Police Service Commission can taint the term of this one.
Yes, I would think so.
So it comes down to how they treat with the issue.
Yes, at that point, that's why I say it's very unprecedented. You work with a list, you got it withdrawn, there has to be some reason, and it can be explained properly. Did you get new information? Did the members of the commission call you, apart from the fact that many of them had resigned by that time? Because the president is saying, implying, this is important from reading what her release said. She had no direct interaction with the chairman. In that, she said on August the 11th, the list was presented to the office of the president.
Yeah.
So, to whom was it presented, for example? the secretary of the president's office, the legal officer, was it dropped at the front desk? So I'm afraid that these things, even though they might cause some embarrassment, but they need to be clarified because the three questions arise.
Yeah.
Where is the list? Apart from the fact that the list reputedly is still not complete.
Where is
That's
the one that was
the
presented to the
president is saying when
president's
she
house?
inquired from the police service commission,
Professor,
he told her that the list is not yet completed.
we are out of time, but my final question to you is there any merit to starting over the process?
Well, you have to derive merit from why are you proceeding with the first list. Until you don't clear up what is called the old list or the first list, and being fair to those who are on the list or who are not on the list. Until you don't clear up those circumstances, you cannot freely and properly proceed with the first list, although there's logic in doing it. There's logic in doing it. You're a new commission, you come in there, you meet new circumstances, but you cannot just dust your clothes and proceed without understanding why your clothes got messed up in the first place. So I am hoping, I know I make these suggestions and say these words with great respect to the commission and the public, but I hope that as the things proceed, this commission will go beyond personalities and politics, and do what is right according to the Constitution and their conscience. And I am quite sure they can do so, the 5 persons as I know them.
Professor Ramesh Deosaran, thank you so much for being with us here this morning and lending your expertise to the subject.
Thank you, Ms. Natalie.
You're most welcome. Professor Ramesh Deosaran there, for criminologist, the former chairman of the Police Service Commission, and he's saying we have to figure out if there's a list and where is it and why was it withdrawn before we can even decide if we want to scrap that process or move on to something new.